SA Tourism, it really does showcase a host of travel experiences in South Africa and in Africa for the general global market. So let's say good morning to Sakina.
And of course, we're coming to you live this morning from eThekwini in Durban. And of course, this is for Africa's tourism Indaba. And this, of course, is one of the biggest events of its kind on the African continent and one of the 3 must-attend events on the global calendar as well. Welcome to Durban. And of course, we're coming to you this morning from Ushaka Beach. And it's a wonderful, glorious morning, but of course, a difficult act to follow there by Amazebra. And of course, we're here for the Tourism Indaba, Africa's Tourism Indaba, where 7,000 delegates are expected to attend, with over 900 exhibitors also in attendance. And that taking place, of course, at the Nkosi Albert Luthuli Convention Center. And hopefully we'll be able to bring you throughout the course of the week, because this event starts today and it goes on until Saturday. More events and exhibitions from that center. But for now, we are here. And just to give you a little bit of background, as the Deputy Minister of Tourism joins me for this particular discussion, Africa and tourism are, of course, synonymous. And in South Africa, 8.6% of our GDP comes from tourism. And if you look at the continent as a whole, what we see there is that you have 1 in 11 jobs on the African continent created in the tourism sector. So what does this mean in number terms? Of course, 44% of travel spend happens here through international tourism and tourists, but 56% of it, the majority of it, is spent by locals, you and I. And that, of course, augurs very well for us, and hopefully we can sustain that. But then if we have to monetize that, 128 billion rand is spent by international tourists on tourism in South Africa, as compared to 163 billion by locals. And I'm joined now by the Deputy Minister of Tourism, Travel and Tourism in South Africa, Elizabeth Tabete, to find out how the department crunches these numbers and what they actually mean. Deputy Minister, thanks so much for joining us this morning. Well, impressive figures they are, because the tourism industry has always been a mainstay of our South African economy. But those numbers, what do they mean to you, and what do they tell us about South Africa and tourism as a whole?
For us, I think from the Department of Tourism, we are very grateful that if we see many more arrivals, it means then many jobs then created. Because if you look at the State of the Nation address by President Ramaphosa last year, he mentioned that within tourism, there's plus minus 770,000 jobs that are created. And he said because of the beauty of our country, we can double that number easily and make sure that we focus on destination marketing, but we also make sure that we support those upcoming small businesses who are trying to look at the untapped market and be able to encourage more tourists to come and attract them to come, because we've got a lot to showcase. We've got a lot of, even domestic, but internationally mostly is where we get a lot of, a boost in terms of what they spend in South Africa.
So you're talking about empowerment and empowering people to perhaps get more involved in the sector. Incidentally, yesterday at the airport, I bumped into someone from the National Empowerment Fund, and we were talking about tourism, and he was actually telling me, some of their success stories where they have actually funded people people who now own stakes in many of the reserves that we have across the country. But what are some of the other empowerment opportunities that are open that people can tap into?
No, there's quite a lot. We've got about 4 incubators that we are supporting a lot of the small businesses, especially next to Sun City. We've got a lot of those companies, more than 50 of them that we are mentoring, that we are also incubating to make sure that they can get opportunities, but also showcase them in some of the world travel market. Like your Spain, we've got annual Germany and all those, Frankfurt. We take them there and they come back then, making sure that they can be able to get deals that, many of the tourists come, and once they come, it is the annual, visit. They no longer, say, I'm not going back there. So we are doing this, but also the Transformation Fund itself, because we have partnered as the Department of Tourism with the NEF through the Department of Trade and Industry to make sure that we can assist a lot of our people that need assistance. And through that, some of them have got a breakthrough and they're able now to host many more. And they're also getting into conferences and business meetings, which is getting them a lot more money. And when these business people travel, most of them travel with families. While they are in conference, they can be able to take their families then to go and see what we offer. So most of those people move from being smaller to big business. One lady we traveled with yesterday, she now opens, she opened a guest house, conference center near Pretoria. She started very small, but she worked for Sun City. She went abroad 2 years and came back, and now she was able to get the assistance that we can, and now she's really moving. She said, I'm no longer small now, I've grown, which is what we want. I think people can't be small business forever. You just assist them then to start, and then they must gradually grow. But of course, if they get then tourists to come visit, especially the permanent ones and conferences, because we've got a lot of venues in South Africa that you can attract lots of these conferences. And through the South African Convention Bureau, through the SA Tourism, Amanda Kozentlap is doing a very good job in terms of making sure that we bid, we go country to country, and with that we are able to see returns of what then we were bidding for, and we see many more people bringing conferences to South Africa.
Well, Deputy Minister, that is what it's about, isn't it? Telling those success stories, and this is something that we will also hope to tell you more of in this coverage. But we're going to leave it there for now. The Deputy Minister of Travel and Tourism in our country, Elizabeth Tabete, and we'll be speaking to the CEOs and others role players who work in this particular sector, telling you more of those stories, and also perhaps at some point talking through some of the challenges that exist. But with that, it's time now for news headlines, and it's back to Leanne in studio.